If you haven't heard of HBO's The Idol by now, basically they gave Sam Levinson and The Weeknd free reign to make the most out-of-touch show that they could have possibly made in today's climate. And I'd like to give my thoughts on it. Now, there are spoilers ahead, but nothing in this show comes as a genuine surprise for the sake of actual plot development. Instead, it's made up of shock factor content all geared up to trend on social media. Because bad publicity is still publicity, and I gotta be honest, I don't think it's the worst show ever. It's competently acted and pretty decently filmed. I like the visual aesthetic for the show, but it is pretty horribly written, and I can't get over that fact. Not to mention, there are several other issues that the show has faced since its inception, really. Now, to give you the Cliff Notes version, essentially The Weeknd's character scoops up a broken pop star known as Jocelyn in order to help her rebuild her image and capitalize on her fame. Now, The Weeknd's character, Tedros, they want you to imagine his character as this dangerous bad boy with a bit of a charm to him, but he couldn't be further from that. I think they were trying to go for like a more sexy, dangerous version of Christian Grey. He's basically just a pimp that has assembled his own coke-fueled version of the Avengers, as if he's the sleazy, misogynistic Tony Stark of Hollywood. This guy barges into Jocelyn's life, smacks and then kicks out her personal chef, corrupts her best friend, is a total ass to her other best friend, berates a store employee, beats Jocelyn with a brush.
Did you say this was the brush your mom beat you with?
Not to mention, he has a whole cult of people who just follow him around, and I don't understand the whole cult aspect and why The Weeknd thought we would have been at all sympathetic for this character. And it's all for the sake of artistry, and throughout the course of this entire show, there's plenty of other red flags that I didn't mention here. And Abel must have gone to the Jared Leto School of Acting in preparation for this show. And if there was any mystique remaining with his The Weeknd persona, he pretty much blew it with this performance. I'm sorry, sort of. And go back to singing. It didn't work out, you tried, you did your best. His whole performance is super corny and just boring. I feel like I can't take The Weeknd seriously anymore. I mean, his character is played so unironically funny that I can't tell if he's actually trying to be satirical or serious in a lot of different moments throughout the show. Instead of dangerous and edgy, it just comes off as kind of silly. Now, I've enjoyed watching The Weeknd's career progress over the last decade. I even waited over a year for my signed cassette of After Hours to arrive. Thanks, COVID. I mean, the guy's still on top of the world. He's been riding this massive high since his career really exploded back in 2015, and he's been pretty unstoppable since, and has continuously one-upped his projects over the years, in my opinion. But I can't wrap my head around why he chose to play an even sleazier version of his persona that he had adopted earlier in his career. Tedros is a mass manipulator, and at one point he convinces Jocelyn's friend Xander to frame her ex for R-wording someone, and this is never addressed between Jocelyn and Xander. It's as if it never happened. She puts all the blame on Tedros, and nobody else gets blamed for anything they had done. It's only insinuated that he had asked Xander to do this. We never really see him do it. The things that Tedros does in this show in any other capacity would be pretty inexcusable, and I get the point they're trying to portray where it's like it's Hollywood, people get away with things, but it just comes across as like a peek inside the life and that it is a real criticism. This show loves to make physical abuse the driving force behind why Jocelyn and these artists under Tedros' thumb are able to tap into such creative potential. You know, apparently abuse is necessary for an artist to succeed. That's at least the message they want to give you. It's like HBO thought they were in on the joke because Sam and The Weeknd decided to poke fun at their bosses, but not too much fun or they'd pull the funding. I mean, the studio had already wasted $75 million producing this show before it had switched hands. Now, this show has been the target of bad review after bad review ever since its premiere at the Cannes Festival back in May. Critics have torn it apart for its basic approach to storytelling, its graphic nudity, and lack of a respect for the subject matter. Outlets such as Rolling Stone, AV Club, Variety all tear this show a new one, putting Sam Levinson and The Weeknd in the immediate defensive position. Like, they literally got all defensive and claimed everybody misunderstood the show. Then you also have old farts like Jane Addams, who must be stuck in method acting mode. She's chosen to battle feminism on the front lines and has proven to be about as ineffective as any other dirtbag that chooses to challenge real-world issues and societal problems. I'd say she really knows how to embody her role at this point. She's even quoted as saying, "Free speech is the license to offend, period, full stop." Okay, sure, Jane, but free speech also allows your critics to speak up when your show sucks. So why do you have an issue when the other side of the argument wants to speak up and advocate for their beliefs? Don't people like you even welcome criticism? I mean, this ignorant response really just dismisses any concern for real-world issues that are still happening in Hollywood today. You'd think the Me Too movement might have shifted the industry's perspective when it comes to how they market their talent, but it feels like they're kind of taking just baby steps at this point. I'm sure that similar to this current strike, all these CEOs and execs are going to wait until this all blows over and then we go back to business as usual. It's just shitty that it took a writer and actor strike for these execs to go mask off on their talent. These are the people that sell your movies for you. Had Tom Cruise died in one of his stunts that he decided to pull off, you would have no more Mission Impossibles. That is it. There are so many movies that are solely tied to one star's existence within this production. And if you don't have them, you don't have a movie that makes you millions and billions of dollars. And the same goes for the writers and crew behind the scenes that allow these actors to perform at their peak. Without these people, you don't have a movie. And so for CEOs to just kind of shit on the people below them is really disappointing to see, and it makes me not want to go see the next Marvel movie. I think Bob Iger can off. And it's unlike the Me Too movement where the execs were comfortable just shutting up until it all blew over, hoping nobody would out them in the process. And so that's where I think this show comes into relevancy within today's current climate, is that I think they had such a great opportunity to really critique Hollywood and every little system within it, but instead they just become the thing they were trying to satirize. Now, Sam and The Weeknd really want you to think that they are pushing the envelope with this show, portraying Hollywood as this toxic cesspool loaded with bad egos and personalities and endless drama, exploiting its talent for every last penny. And yeah, you're correct. Why wouldn't you satirize that? But instead they opted to film a softcore porno masquerading as an introspective and deep, thought-provoking TV show, all for the sake of shoving as much nipples and ass as they could into a 1-hour runtime. I mean, they have to believe that there is some truth to the allegations coming from the crew about the production of this show. I mean, in the very first episode, they make a joke out of how super totally lame intimacy coordinators are. And I can never tell if they want me to hate these characters. At one point, Jessie tells Jocelyn that her song sucks ass, and I agree with her. It's horrible. The music in this show is paper thin. It's the worst stuff The Weeknd's put out. But then Jessie also goes on to make the most cold-blooded statements about Jocelyn's dead mother. So I don't know on what side I'm supposed to be on, and this whole personality trait carries through to the other execs throughout the entire course of the show. Again, this is more of a look into the life than it is a satirization of the content within Hollywood. I mean, the script is more confused than I am when I play a Mortal Kombat game. The Idol is all style and zero substance. I mean, where's the clever commentary? This just feels like they invited a bunch of friends over for a rehearsal. This thing is filmed in The Weeknd's house. At the end of the show, for Jocelyn's final performance, they used The Weeknd's stage from a show he put on last year. So yeah, the budget cuts are pretty obvious, and it's a shame because they had an opportunity to evolve this script into something much more sensitive and thought-provoking, but I think Sam and Abel were a little more distracted by the boobs. So those are my thoughts on The Idol. I think it's pretty tone-deaf. Thank God it only lasted 5 episodes, though it felt like 10. The finale was about as deflated as I had expected, and it pretty much sets up the entire thing for a second season, which I hope to God we don't get. And I guess to bring this whole thing full circle, the ending as like when Tony Stark goes to tell the world that he is Iron Man now, except without all the excitement and closure.
Well, Tedros, Tedros was kind of just, his weapon.
The show's a dud. Don't watch it. Subscribe, like my video, let me know what you think about this thing, and if you loved it, that's fine. You can like this show. I am just a guy in a room telling my opinions on a very disappointing show. I think that's the biggest thing for me here, is that the show was just so disappointing. There was so much more potential, and I don't understand why there was not more thought put into this. This is The Weeknd's first performance, and I hope it's his last, because the dude can't act. I'm sorry. The guy can't act. So yeah, let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. Like, subscribe, do all the fun stuff, and I'll see you next time. Thanks.